Hello and welcome to the Boss It podcast with Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet. This podcast is released every week and is an over-the-shoulder look of a frank and candid discussion between two experienced software executives, providing you with useful tips, techniques and the latest concepts to help you grow your software business in the fast-paced digital age. So let's get into it. Here is Mark Edwards and Michael Humblet.
Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good morning, Mark. I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Just, in fact, this was a bit of a rush to get back because I'd said to you that we would start at this time. But I've been in London last 2 days. I've been at the BCS conference, which is the British Society of Cinematographers. So I'm looking at latest techniques, learning a lot about video and how video is used to tell a story because it's just so important now.
I absolutely follow. I think video is, they say that 80% of all media on the internet is going to be video this year.
Yeah.
So, and I also seen the impact on my business, and you've seen it on Boss business. But the big trick, and that's the hard part, and I hope you found some solutions there, is pragmatically to keep it up, all the tactics around it. I think strategy-wise, it's clear, but just tactical, I think that's where there is a lot to be gained at the moment.
I think it's like anything. I think that initially it takes a lot of hard work. It probably gets a bit easier with the experience. Your own understanding about video and what's good and what's bad changes. But,
yeah,
like we're always saying, just get out, get it done. Get it done, move forward.
Pure for thought leadership. If you look, there is a very nice case. We talk to software companies. There is a company called Close.io, and they have a YouTube channel. And if you look at that YouTube channel, they don't actually talk about their own software. It is their CEO and their CTO that records himself in front of a laptop, and actually the quality is not that high. But he keeps doing it every day, every 2 days, and he gives real advice. You should have a look at it because you see he has a lot of views and the content is good. And you realize that it doesn't need to be perfect.
Oh, I've seen so many things recently that really made me think. I don't know if you've seen, but it's quite well known now. There's one of the big hotel chains, and what they've started doing is instead of creating videos about their hotels, they create short entertainment films which feature their hotels. So the first one they did was 2 bellboys, and it was almost like a sort of a mini Jackie Chan type adventure.
Cool. Really cool.
Yeah, but it was great, and people are watching it, and it takes you. It's a different perspective. You need a change of mindset to think of it in that way. But it goes back to this thing that I'm trying to impress on everyone at Boss Equity, which is stop interrupting people with our marketing and make what we are saying interesting. Make what we're saying the things that they want to listen to.
Yeah, stop selling.
Yeah, exactly.
I fully agree. Yeah.
So,
and then if you can add a layer of entertainment, because I hear you, I think it's a really good idea that you actually create a real story and you want to follow those 2 bellboys, whatever they're doing, and you actually walk the same hall. It's like branding level version 2.0. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I wanted to, a couple of things I wanted to say. Last week when we were talking about these really fast growth software companies, we were talking about ClickFunnels and Exponia. They were 2 examples, and sort of off the top, I knew these were fast growth, but I didn't have all the facts in front of me. ClickFunnels, they are in excess of 360 million in revenue, and they started 2014. Exponia, there are discussions now of valuations on that company, bearing in mind they're the fastest growing SaaS company in Europe. They started in 2015 and their valuation is in the billions. It's incredible.
But that's really unicorn those are unicorn examples almost.
That's it there. Yeah, if you're into the billions, you're into the unicorn. But the interesting thing is that it is possible, and it's very possible in software tech. Yeah. And if you're in software tech, then I think that there's a lot to be learned. These are not the only examples. In fact, we're doing a study. We did a study last year, and actually, what we did was we put together a white paper. So the thinking behind it was going back to this, provide things that are entertaining or interesting to your target audience. Was we wanted to put together a report which is saying what makes software tech businesses successful. And we thought the best way to do it, because we've been working in this area for a long time, so we've got lots of our own ideas. But I thought we don't just want to be saying what we think, although I think it is quite valid because we do have a lot of experience, across a number of different continents. But I thought what would be even better would be to collate together all of the other reports worldwide that have been done on this. So I had 2 researchers working for a number of weeks just digging up all of this information. The mistake was that actually there hasn't been that much work done on looking at what makes a software company successful. A lot of it was about what makes software installations successful for the end user. This is a slightly different twist on it. There was a little bit, there were some articles, there were some blogs, but I think what we're going to do now is we're going to do our own unique research, and we're looking at those fast growth companies, and we've got a lot of information already, and we're going to put it together in some format. I don't know if it's going to be a white paper. It might be a video. Who knows? Yeah. White paper's a bit old hat now, maybe, but we'll see. Yeah,
I do like the mix between like one screen and somebody's talking around it, so you can also visualize, you can see it. Yeah. Some concepts are just better in a view than just talking.
That's true.
So I think we might want to try something there and just experiment with a face next to a screen. I mean, I believe you. We should do video.
Yeah,
let's try.
Yeah. So, and the other thing I wanted to say was we finally agreed on a name for this podcast.
Yeah, true.
This is our 4th one, I think. Yeah. We've done 4, and the plan was that we would always do at least 4 before we actually released the podcast, because we wanted to test it. We wanted to see if it didn't work, we'd quietly not mention it again and just delete it.
Yeah.
But I have given it to a few people that I trust to get some feedback. These are the people that would say if it stinks, they'll tell me it stinks, and they didn't. So they gave a few tips of how we could improve it. But I think it has. I don't know what's your feeling. Have you listened to all 4 of them? Have you listened to all 4 of them back, or 3 threads?
Once you get past the effect that it's weird to hear your own voice, but I think it needs to mature, and you need to balance the energy. And I saw the first 2 ones. I listened to the first 2 ones. I was interrupting you the whole time, and I need to calm down. And it has its flow, and I think we should keep it up. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought it was good, and I agree with you. I was listening to my own voice. I think I had a bit of a cold, and I was sounding very nasally in the first 2 weeks, and that really irritated me. And that was the main thing that was on my mind. And I was thinking that I needed to make sure that this was actually a conversation between the 2 of us. And when you were talking, I was listening to you, and it was. I'll tell you what it reminded me of. I don't know if you've ever been to a party and you meet somebody for the first time. And sometimes you meet with somebody and you think, what a great conversation. So I really enjoyed talking to them. And then other people, you're thinking, I don't know, it just didn't gel well. I probably am not going to seek this person out to have another conversation. Yeah. And I've always been quite intrigued by that, because I studied psychology. I've always been interested in that. And one of the things that I liken it to is a conversation is like table tennis. I'm serving the ball to you and you're knocking it back to me, and then I'm knocking it to you. But if the person on the other side of the table suddenly turns and starts knocking the ball up against a wall to themselves, and you're just standing there waiting, it just goes on and on and on and on, you do tend to tune out a little bit. You lose interest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think it needs to be backwards and forwards, and then hopefully we can do that.
Yeah, let's keep it up.
Did you have any topics? Did you sort of come in and just thought we'll see how it goes today, or did
I
you
was
have any
so
topics?
energized last time, and I thought so much that I kind of feel guilty now, and I'm thinking, no, Mark had some stuff to say, so let me be quiet this time.
I had 5 things written down, and you
I
just
know you had. So
you were like a train.
yeah, I
And
was.
then-
Yeah,
And then towards the end, it was funny because towards the end you started to slow up, and I thought, all right, okay, Michael, he's sort of given me a little bit of space, and then you said, well, I think we should wrap it up now.
It's dominance, take control. And,
exactly.
Two alpha males in a call is always
We'll call
stuff.
this is the Michael podcast coming to you
I
from
already
Belgium.
have my YouTube show where I can dominate. So I'm sitting relaxed here and I'm saying, well, Mark, you have some topics. Let me just comment on them.
No, well, that's good. I've got a bit of space today. Then I can bring up a few of my topics.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
First one, and this is just things that have happened to me this week, and sometimes it's a new perspective on something. Sometimes it's greater clarity. Sometimes you see reoccurring themes, and I think one of the things that I talk to my clients about is about communication, because it's so important, and so many software companies do it so badly. They don't even know they do it badly.
Outside communication or internal?
Both.
Because there is a bit of a difference there.
Yeah, I think both, and I've been guilty definitely of bad internal communication. You know, I sort of see the vision, got the idea, I give a quick explanation, and I'm off, and people are thinking, hang on a minute, what did he say? He's gone.
Yeah.
And I think I've this year in particular, I've sort of sat down and thought to myself, you know, if somebody doesn't understand, that's my fault. That's not theirs.
No, exactly.
I haven't communicated in the right way, and I haven't taken the time to give them the space to give them a feedback, to say, hang on a minute, I'm not quite sure on that, or do you mean this? I've just gone, you know.
Yeah. The way I explain sometimes to people is that you've already had the whole mental process. You went through all the steps, and it's like you break up with a girl. You've been thinking about it for weeks, and then one day you decided, and you say it stops here for whatever reason, and then you need to explain, and it goes back and forth. It's a bit of that construction, so they haven't had time to process it. So you need to give them that time to process. But I know. It's tough. And I used to have a good friend of mine who was CEO of a company said to me, when I got frustrated with this, I would sit and look at, damn, they're so slow. And I mean, why? And he said to me, Michael, there are no shortcuts. You have to go through the process, or you will get extremely frustrated. Just accept it is like that. Point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tough one.
I had a meeting with a really nice guy early part of this week. He's working with us on a few projects, but he's actually a trained clinical psychologist. And I was talking to him about this issue that I see time and time again, you know, and we were talking, it's cognitive overload. It's overloading your audience with information too much, too quickly.
Yeah.
And what happens is where they could take in some of the information, you get to a stage where you've just overloaded their short-term memory, and they take in nothing. It's like full. No more's coming in, and you can keep talking, but no more is going to come in.
I did this week my sales sprint bootcamp in Antwerp, in Belgium. It's 15 people, all executives in the room, and I took them through.
How many of them spoke apart from you?
Sorry. Oh, I spoke, but no. There were exercises, and I know.
Okay.
So
you let them speak.
Yeah. So what happened is exactly what you're saying. So let's say we get through to 3 o'clock and they're still rather energized and the balance is good. And then I suddenly realize I still have so much I want to tell these guys. There's so much new and so much really cool stuff that would help their business, like very special examples of business models.
Yes.
I mean, so much. And I don't know why, I just ignored all the signals and I really started saying, hey, look at this. But it was a complete sensory overload at a certain stage, and I really saw them switching up and thinking, this is fantastic, Michael, but this is another session, right? So yes. I learned on that moment I need to rebalance a bit that last part.
Yes.
So, but I mean, they got a lot of really high quality content. That's not a discussion. It just, the format and the last point, it's I need to do some work on that one.
So I mean, this is a problem that we both see, and I think particularly for technical companies where they've got a lot of information that they could convey. So what's the solution for these companies? I mean, first of all, where do we see that problem? And I mean, without doubt, I see it on websites, and I see it in first face-to-face meetings.
Yeah, I wanted to. It's funny because let me take it one step back. When you were talking about those two companies, ClickFunnels and the other one, they both have one thing in common. They have an extremely simple and clear story.
Simplicity
but
and
ridiculously
clarity.
Clear, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the answer. So in many cases, when I'm with clients and they start explaining what they do, they kind of try and shove all the details in. I'm like, guys, just tell me one sentence. Yeah, but it doesn't do right to the whole story. I said, I get it, but you need to pick your battle. And I see that all the time. And it's funny that I'm telling you that I did the same thing on my Sales Sprint Bootcamp. It's a pity I really fell into the trap because you get excited. And then I realized, these guys, they're so proud and they get so excited and they just, the tsunami comes.
Well, I'll tell you something, and I think that it's a little bit ironic because in one of the sessions that I was with one of my clients, I was talking to them about this subject, and I was helping to educate them about this and see things in a different way. And in talking to them about it, because I had so much to say, I did exactly the same.
Yeah, voila.
I overloaded them about overloader. There's an irony, isn't it?
Yeah,
because
it's
I mean, one of the other things that came up in conversation, which is very much related to this, is about the marketing overload that you can give a potential customer, and the etiquette of, you see some response, and I see a lot of companies do this. I had a company do this to me just this week, and there was a software solution which I was interested in, so I responded, and I had a couple of questions, and the salesman responded to me, and he answered my questions, which was great. And then I said, I'd actually like to see a demonstration, and when I see a demonstration, I've got a couple of other questions, and I'm only available on Friday at this time. And he said, well, I'm not there. He said, but I've got another sales guy who could handle this for you. And I said, great, just set it up, 10:30. So I didn't see an email invitation come, which I was a bit surprised. And then on the morning of the Friday, I had an email from this other salesman saying, Steve has spoken and said that you've been in contact. We've got a special deal. And as an incentive for you to buy, here's 50% off.
It's like, you're not even qualified. He's already selling to you.
He's already selling to me. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I went. And I mean, I tend to be, as I get older, I get more and more truthful and honest. Some people call it blunt, but and I went back
for
to
an English. That's not possible.
I'm different.
For us, we're always get very careful with.
So I went to him and I said, well, the arrangement was that you were going to give me a demonstration and I was going to ask some questions. I said, that's really bad selling. And he said, his email back to me was, well, if you don't ask, you can't get. I just my head was in my hands at that stage. And guess what? When he came to do the demonstration, it was a really bad demonstration. It was just bang straight into showing me all the features, not listening to what I was wanting, not asking me any questions. He had no idea, and it just felt like he was just trying to push this product down my neck. It was awful. And there's so much out there. People, I don't know, it's as though that there is a whole group of people that they come from the 80s and 90s.
But
and things haven't moved on.
How do we train them? I think a lot of companies train their guys wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this guy might have been successful in the old days, and then he gets a team and he wants them. I mean, so many times I had executives tell me, Michael, I want you to build like a product portfolio with a story, so my sales guys, they can do like in the Xerox time, they open their bag, what's your problem, but that's solution selling, and that's 10 years ago. Guys, it's not going to work. I tell you, it's not going to work.
No, and I think it is a difficult issue to address because the the senior people within these software companies, they will have come up through sales, quite a lot of them.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and they would have used these techniques, and in those days they worked to a degree.
But I think if you would take that executive and you let him do the sales to another executive, he would not do that. He would probably have a completely different approach.
That's
because
true.
So you're wondering why does he expect his sales guys to do something very different? I mean, it's very, very odd.
Do you know, I've got an example. It was a company that I was dealing with a couple of years ago, and their solution, when you sat down and spent the time, to really look at what they offered, it was very well put together, and it was a great solution. And it was using, artificial intelligence in a really interesting way, and it was doing things that other solutions weren't. I was really interested in it. But you looked at their sales, and the sales were all coming from the CEO. But I sat in on some of the sales presentations that CEO made, and you sit there amazed and astonished, thinking, I can't believe he's getting away with this. Because it was just, I mean, he was able to sell, and he was able to sell on the force of his personality, but also because he was the CEO of that company.
Exactly.
People are going to treat him in a different way that he did the salespeople. And he couldn't train the salespeople in his company. All he could do was look at them and say, well, I can sell. You need to do it like this. It would never have worked for them, but he couldn't see that.
I got a mail from a person in my inbox saying, Michael, we need to talk. Last year I hired from zero. I suddenly hired 4 sales guys, and I had to fire 3 of them because there was no success. And then I looked into his business, and it's a classic license mechanism selling to large corporates. And I said, man, you just didn't wait long enough. I mean, you cannot close a deal in 6 months with this type of company. So I get really angry. Angry is not the right word. I'm getting like, man, just watch one of my movies and you'll do well, right? You'll fix that immediately.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work that way, huh?
No, I've been there as well, and I've been quite frustrated in what perhaps the CEO of a company is telling me about his salespeople. And sometimes it can be in very negative terms. These guys, they're not willing to work, they're no good. And I think, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
Because who hired them? Who trained them?
Yeah. So I have to say, I do a lot of sales audits. So I go in, I check all the sales guys. It's very rarely, and I mean really rarely, let's say 1 on 5 of these audits, I will tell them, that one guy or girl, take him out now. But it's really, really rare.
Yeah.
Because most of them are good. Or they're like 80, 85%, and I know you've trained them for 6 months, so if you have to replace them, it's just going to be another 6 months with no activity. It's just a matter of measuring them right way, motivating them the right way. And
they all want to do well. Who goes to work wanting to fail? And this is the thing that really frustrates me, is that they sometimes look at them and thinking they don't care. I bet they really do care. It's just that they're frustrated. They maybe have not got the tools. They've not got the training. They've not got the guidance.
Yeah. And
give it to them.
Yeah. So sometimes I say to the executive, and he's like, yeah, but Michael, I'm a CEO. I don't have... And I'm talking not so large companies. I'm talking, let's company of 100 people. Yeah, my biggest issue is sales. It's not moving fast enough. And I said, but one, it means it needs your attention more than the rest. And it means you should just sit in the middle of that team 2 days a week and just watch and play along. So because the CEO traditionally is one of the best sales guys in the company because he has a different view. And he said it would dramatically speed up things because they see you, they will be more energized, but they're just not doing it because they're busy. And then I walk through the office, and then what do I see? I see the CEO again watching an Excel sheet the whole day long, and I'm like, it's part of your job, I get it. But man, if you tell me that's your biggest issue, it needs your attention.
Yeah, well, that's something that we see all the time when we're looking at a business, and we're looking at its equity value and its equity potential.
Exactly.
And when we see that business owners will look and they will focus in the areas where they feel most comfortable most of the time.
Yeah,
and the business then is reflected in that light.
Yeah, that's normal.
No.
Engineering guys will have really strong engineering. Yeah, I understand.
One of the other things that came up this week, and it happened in the last 24 hours actually, but I won't mention his name, but it was a bit of communication that went on, and it was talking about the opportunity for software tech entrepreneurs, because one of the things that we're saying is that very often, and this is something we see very, very common, software entrepreneur is able to start a company, is able to pull resources together, get things moving, create some value. They're very good at that part, but they're not necessarily going to be good at taking that business to the second and third and fourth stages of development. And what they should do, they should sell it and move on. Take the money, bank a lot of money, take some money, risk a small amount of money. They've already got the financial independence. They've got the pressure off. Go do it again. Go do it a third time. But I think some just hang on, and you get these flatline businesses. They haven't got those skills to take the business on. Or they lose their passion, they lose their energy. There's so many reasons for it. But I came across a guy and he said, I'm never going to sell my business. Never.
Okay.
Well, you are, but you're probably going to end up giving it away because, number one, you're not going to live forever. So
True.
At some stage, it's going to exit your hands. Unless you've found some sort of magic pill for immortality, it is going to exit your hands. So where's it going to go? So you need to think about that. But also, it's just so much the wrong mindset. Totally wrong. I think that there's so many owners out there, they don't understand what they could achieve. They really don't.
Also, is it feeling, is it the right word, indispensable? Like, it needs me. And I think for me, when I look at the business, the best managers are the guys or the girls, the people that set it up, that the business actually doesn't really need them. They're just the energetic or how do you call it, catalyst.
You're right.
Catalyst for the business.
Yeah.
But if it needs them the whole time, you actually have a wrong business. I mean, it's just never going to scale. If you want scale, I know very small businesses that do really well and they just don't care about scale. That's fine too.
But even with those very small businesses, I say to them, why did you start that business? And I think that for some, they started it because they wanted freedom. Perhaps it was the politics of working for a large organisation. I've had countless senior executives from this sector come to me and say, I'm fed up of working for the bigger, more American corporates, or I don't want to work for another IBM type company because I'm a small cog in a big machine. And I can't play the politics of surviving that sort of environment anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one thing. I think also it's some people who want to go out and test themselves, and they've seen other people go out and make a lot of money, and they want to test it. For some, it's they've got an idea, and they really believe in that idea. And I think for others, it may be that sort of creative outlet.
Yeah, the builders, I call them. I have the same, by the way. I love to architect and do the first build, and once it's there, I kind of lose interest. I want to move on.
Yeah.
So
But I think what I see time and time again is that there's a lack of thinking about the end game and that goal. And I think one of the things that we've done over the years is that we've helped facilitate that thinking. And I've seen people totally change their perspective about building a business and potentially selling it. And all those crazy ideas that some of them have. I had, again, this week, sitting in front of a chap and I'm talking to him, he was asking me some general questions about M&A, and then he asked that question, which was, what do you typically see is an average EBITDA for a business like mine?
Yeah. How much will it bring?
The
only question that matters.
And then these guys, you've been brainwashed. Everybody listening, please
you should,
listen
by the way,
to this.
Your storytelling should start with that. The elephant in the room. You should start every slide with, how much is it worth? And then you start your story and say, guys.
Especially when they start from how much, what's the average EBITDA, you know? And I think, God, you've been listening to these VCs, you've been listening to these bankers and accountants for too long. Total rubbish. Why would you want to be conditioned by these guys? Go and have a look at ClickFunnels. Go and have a look at Exponia. So if you take that company, okay, started 2015, today it's worth billions. How would we have valued that business 18 months ago? What figure would you come? How would you have done that? How would you have done that multiplication figure? Because that's what they're doing. Is they want to get their little calculator out and they want to make it based upon numbers. Doesn't work.
One of my kids is into skateboarding, and he asks me the whole time, "Hey, Dad, how much does that cost?" And each time I say an amount, he's going, "Yeah, that's 10 skateboards. Man, you can start a shop with." And he's like calculating everything, and I'm like, "It's the same thing. Huh? It's exactly the same thing."
Well, the other thing is the other argument they say to me is, "Yeah, but there is an average." Well, of course, there's an average. You could average anything. You know, the one I say is you can average. You can find out what the average height of a human being is. So if we include babies and fully grown adults, the average height is probably going to be 4'2", all right? Because they're, you know, all the children that we've got. So on that basis, the next person through that door is going to be roughly 4'2". No, they're not. It's just of no value whatsoever. It doesn't serve any purpose. And the other thing I always say to them is, what you're saying is, I'm going to aim to be average. You know, if you've got a child who's at school and say, "Son, when you grow up, I want you to be average." It's crazy, isn't it? But they're talking about their own business in that way. So please, don't talk to me about EBITDAs and averages ever again.
No, I'm afraid they will keep doing it.
But people have been brainwashed, and I mean I know why it's happened, and I know because we've got an M&A industry that is just managed and dominated by bean counters, and that's a problem. But I'm going to really keep shouting about this. Come and have a chat with me about this. I won't get too aerated next time. Honestly, I'll be sensible.
You'll scream at them, right?
Well, do you know, we've been talking for nearly 32 minutes, and I said to you I wouldn't let it go more than a minute over.
True, you're right.
But
you're right.
Got onto that topic about EBITDAs, I just couldn't resist.
I was completely relaxed, Mark. You could have gone on for 2 hours. I would have sit in and listen and think, Next time, I might want to take over again at the first stage.
Come on, why aren't you jumping in like you normally do, eh?
But I agree. But actually thinking about it, we shouldn't do that. Like make a video or make a slide, and like 4 or 5 slides starting with that one sentence. How much is it worth?
I think I've got to get it out of my system, haven't I?
Yeah, that's why you should do it.
I've got to do a video on this, and I've got to just face the camera and scream and shout at it, and then I'll be fine. I'll be able to talk to people sensibly.
True. I made a poster for the boot camp. I like to make these posters so people can take them along, so you have something offline. And it's me shouting to a guy, and the guy is made red. And it's like really shouting about, these are the 3 things you need to do. And it's funny because I had lots of people taking pictures, putting on LinkedIn with their face next to it. And I'm thinking, hey, there is a team. So we should make one with you shouting, saying, how much is it worth? Leave me alone.
Yeah, that's why I do boxing 3 times a week. It's to get out all of that pent-up frustration with people asking me that question. So people are moaning.
Yeah. Good.
All right. It was good. Good to catch up with you again.
And we'll catch up. And next time I'll bring some extra topics, right?
No, that's fine. I mean, you give me that space. I got to vent some anger here.
That's good.
Well, at least now we can finish by saying thank you for listening to the Boss It podcast.
Yes,
thank you for listening to the Boss It podcast. We've got a name for it, haven't we?
Yeah. And we hope to hear you next time. We hope to be able to speak to you next time when we're on again.
That'd be brilliant. Thanks very much, Michael. Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Speak to you soon. Cheers.